Is Minnesota accent still going strong? Supposedly the Brooklyn accent doesn't exist anymore. That's fake news. That's completely fake.
Mighty God.
Is it less strong on average? Yes. Are there fewer people that have it? Yes. Is it still there? Absolutely yes. And not just in older people. I know younger people that are like, oh my God, you know, the other day I was going down to the store and it was, you know, kind of late. I looked at the time and I said, well, you know, I don't know if I'm going to have the time to go here, but I went anyway. I know people that talk like that all the time. And if I talk to my mother for 10 minutes, I talk like that. So like, you know, like that's just, I don't know. I hear people say like, oh, the accent's dead. It's not dead. Example one, May is Bostonian. May is not from Brooklyn. Let's not get it twisted. There are very few quirks of her accent that even sound mildly like Brooklyn. You just think that New England's all the same. Fran Drescher, that was not a Fran Drescher accent. See, that's the thing. That's the thing. You guys can't tell them apart, I've noticed. Is there a significant difference between a Jersey accent and a Brooklyn accent? No. Well, the thing is, okay, don't make them regional. The problem is saying Brooklyn accent, Bronx accent, Jersey accent is like not real. What it is cultural accents. There's a little bit of the region or the specific neighborhood you grew up in that will kind of leach its way into your accent if you're, you know, in like New York City area. But it's more so cultural. Because a lot of what you think of as a stereotypical Brooklyn accent is either a Jewish American or Italian American accent, right? And it's just also regional. Like the first layer is cultural. The basis of the accent is what culture those people are from. And how close back do they have immigrants in their family as well, right? And then on top of that, the second phase of accent and like what really like seals it is then where they are. Because a Puerto Rican person in Brooklyn and a Puerto Rican person in the Bronx may sound kind of the same, but they might have a couple tiny quirks that are a little different. Not that different, but a couple little things. But for the most part, they're going to sound really similar because they both come from like a Puerto Rican family, right? Same thing. You had a lot of like Italian Americans in Brooklyn, and that's the thing you think of stereotypically. But back in the day, a lot of them actually were in the Bronx. Huge mafia presence in the Bronx, especially. That's changed over time, but, you know. And that accent was a little different and, you know, kind of came from a lot of the Italian Americans that were living in the Bronx being from certain areas of Sicily, right? Or things like that. Like, whereas other families would be from other areas and everyone would move kind of where their family moved when they moved to America. So when you're trying to, like, identify those Northeastern accents, it's culture first, oftentimes mix of cultures first, as the basis for like 80% of what that accent sounds like. And then that last little bit is just, okay, now what area did they grow up in specifically? If that makes sense. So when you hear Fran Drescher talk, Fran Drescher has a Jewish American accent and then also Northeastern, right? It's like all of those. So it's like Jewish American Brooklyn put together gets what you have. And that sounds really similar in a lot of ways to an Italian American Brooklyn accent because they both share the Brooklyn, but also because a lot of Jewish Americans and Italian Americans in, I would say, like the 40s and later, lived in the same neighborhoods, where their neighborhoods were right next to each other in Brooklyn, specifically. It's like a lot of Italian American neighborhoods were right up next to Jewish neighborhoods, where they had temples in them and they were kind of mixed. You get a lot of those accents kind of sounding the same, like over time. Right? They differentiated more when everyone was still immigrants, but then when everyone was like the kids of immigrants, they started to kind of blend their accents together a little bit. A lot of people in Brooklyn that are not Jewish use Yiddish words here and there. Like me, if I see like little, what's a good word? Like knickknacks. If you see little things for sale, they're little things. I call them tchotchkes a lot of the time. I'm not Jewish. I have no Jewish blood. I have no Jewish, like, ancestors. But I'll still call them tchotchkes all the time. Or like if I'm looking for a thing to wipe something up with in the kitchen, I'll be like, I need a shmata. And it's like a towel, like a rag or something. That's not an Italian word. That's a Jewish word. It's Yiddish. So even upstate, you get some of the Yiddish influence of the German families. My grandparents in Buffalo picked up some of that. Yeah, there's a lot of it in the Northeast. Like if my mom calls me and she's like, what are you doing? And it's the morning and I'm just walking around. I'm like, I'm just putzing around. Or if I was being like a little shit, I don't know, a better way to say it, she would always call me a scutch or a little fat. I think those are also Yiddish. I actually don't know. Scutch sounds like it is. Fat? I don't know. What is that, guys? Does anyone know what the fuck that word is? Is that Yiddish? I don't actually know. I'd be like doing something. I'd be, you know, a kid being facetious, and she'd be like, "Oh, you little fat." Like F-O-T. I have no idea what it is. F-A-H-T? I don't know. I say it to my cats a lot. But is that even a Yiddish word? It could also be a Sicilian thing. I don't actually know. I have no clue. I have so many, like, unanswered words from my childhood. I have no clue what they are. I don't know what language they are. I don't know if they're, like, blended. I don't know if it's just a regional thing. Like how we would call this one dish spingi, and it's basically, it's like Sicilian spanakopita, but it's not. There's another dish that's similar to it that is Sicilian, but it's not that. And we would always call it spingi, and I was like, yeah, it's spingi. And I only know one other person, one other friend of mine that was like, oh yeah, spingi, and then they described it, and I was like, yeah, that one. I've met so many other people. Like also like people that are Sicilian and shit, and they're like, I don't know what the fuck that is. So I'm like, is this like a little regional word? Like what is this? I don't know. Just so much stuff like that where I'm like, I have no clue. It's hard because when you grow up around a lot of like immigrants, especially, you don't know if they're saying something and they just fucking made it up, or if it's real. And you just say it, you know? You're just like, yeah, me too. You just say it. Because they say it, and it makes sense to you because you've been taught it in some capacity, at least. Why are you pulling? They could have made it up as a prank. I would have no idea. They could just say it. Some families just have words that they make up. Yeah, you see, normally don't have the accent, but anytime you talk to someone with a heavy one, you turn into a damn hillbilly. I think that's the case. I think when you spend so much time online or watching TV, watching media where people's accents sound more homogenized, your own accent gets light. This is why people say accents are going away. But I find it's very natural. If you just spend time with people with certain accents, you pick it right back up. It's not actually like gone. So for me, like I can morph into 3 different people depending on like where I am, you know? And it's never a thing I try to do. It just happens. I think everyone kind of does that a bit. So I went back to the UK for exactly 4 days for VExpo, and your British accent started coming back towards the end. Oh, are you in the US? Are you not in the UK? So your like accent went away? I have a friend who's British, born and raised, lived there until he was like 20 or so, and then did like his latter half of university here in the US, and has lived here ever since. And he sounds completely American. You would. There are only like 1 or 2 words where you might think he's a little British, and it's his T's. It's his T's. I think Limes does this a little bit too. Like he'll overpronounce T's in the middle of certain words, and that could clue you into something, but it doesn't sound too British because it doesn't have any of the other quirks, right? So like you would just think he's American, and he just says his T's real hard or something, right? But then he like gets on the phone with a friend from the UK, and he just has this like really strong accent that comes out. It's crazy. Speaking to a lot of ESL people has modified my accent as much as anything else. Oh yeah, especially if they're like your friends and you play games with them, so you like start to share little verbal tics and stuff. Or like when I'm talking straight up talking to someone from the suburbs versus talking to somebody from like the city. No matter what their specific accent is, there's a difference in the way you communicate. Oh, shut up. It was always terrible. Can you imagine not having 4 seasons? Awful. Good. Get cooked. Get boiled. Go move somewhere with nice weather.